Sach, what's going on, man?
Oh, Terrence, this is not a good week for me.
Why?
So, at my day job, right, there's a contract. There's a briefcase with a contract inside that allows you to get a one-on-one performance evaluation against the boss of the company.
Anytime you want?
Anytime I want. So the smart thing to do is to wait until the boss is tired after a really long shift and then cash it in.
Right.
And then, like, the board of governors will, like, referee the whole event, and, like, you have a chance to essentially become the new boss.
Wow.
And all of the raises that go with it. But I think I blew it. I think I waited for the wrong moment. I got distracted. And I think I'm going to be stuck in this position for a while.
You won't be the only one.
Yeah, you know, we gonna get right into it. Look, heart blacker than my socks. The fan waiting for that drop. I haven't written in a week. Been double tapping like a creep. Saw colors with my last girl. With my new chick, I see the world. You know? Yeah, she got me plotting. Maybe I should put a baby in a chick. Fuck happiness, I just like I'm pretty and I'm thick. Girl, you know that I'm a Mac with it. Shouldn't have to say it twice. You don't have to love me. You just gotta act right. Yeah.
Welcome back to Talking About Wrestling. Did you miss me? I missed you. And I hope you guys missed me. All 5 of you, let's subscribe to my podcast. But that's not important. But seriously, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to let us come and be a part of your day. I love doing this show for you guys. I'm a big wrestling fan just like you. And if you guys are enjoying what you're hearing, if you guys just do me a big favor, go to iTunes right now and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave me a 5-star rating. That'd be great. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys love the opening music. That's my favorite rapper, Thomas Legend, with his song Act Right. You can follow him on Twitter at @TheThomasLegend, or you can find him at www.thomaslegend.com. All right, so this has been quite the eventful week in wrestling. SummerSlam is this weekend, and the build for it was not that hot. Let's be honest. I mean, they've done a really good job building the show up to this point, but in this week, what would have been the go-home shows, they didn't really give us a whole lot to say, hey, coming off that show, I am super excited to see X, Y, or Z coming into SummerSlam. I just didn't think that they really did a great job of leading into the pay-per-view with Raw and SmackDown this week. Now, I've been out of the loop on NXT for a little while, but I'm definitely planning to watch the TakeOver show. I don't think I'm going to like binge watch a couple of weeks of NXT. As a matter of fact, that's probably exactly what I'm going to do. I'm really looking forward to the Bobby Roode, Drew McIntyre match, just because, you know, those are two guys that are both pretty good. I'm not sure if they crossed paths while they were both in TNA, but either way, you know, these are both two good, solid wrestlers, and they're pretty much guaranteed to put on a good show. TakeOver is always good, especially in Brooklyn, and you know, I don't know if they're ever going to top the Sasha Bailey match from a few years ago, but the shows in general have a good feel to them. So I'm definitely looking forward to that from TakeOver. And GFW had a air quotes live show this week, but it was air quotes way better than the tape shows are. This was it had a different feel. I think this was supposed to be the official kind of rebrand as GFW. You got to see, you know, some different features that really set it apart from what it used to be, and the show did not disappoint. And, you know, I'll talk more about that later, but this was definitely a newsworthy show for GFW this week. So that's big news, going to be coming up later in my Impact review. But I know you guys have missed me and Sach chopping it up. The man, the myth, the legend, Sach is back, and we are going to play a special SummerSlam edition of America's favorite game. Yes, please. No, please. Please, please. Here we go. All right, everybody. I'm back here with Sach, and it has been, quite an eventful week. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm sure if you're like us, then you're looking forward to something that is going to take your mind off the world for a few minutes. So we are more than happy to, get together and chop it up with you guys, talk some wrestling, and, we're heading into SummerSlam week. So SummerSlam is the big thing coming up this week.
The biggest party of the summer.
Yeah.
The ultimate thrill ride. The great ball of fire.
Yeah. So, we got all that coming up. And Raw and SmackDown this week were kind of uneventful. I mean, stuff happened, but
a big thing happened.
That's true. A big thing did happen, but I did not come out of Raw and SmackDown this week feeling more excited for SummerSlam than I was, let's say, Monday morning.
And I have a similar thought to that because I feel like the groundwork on the biggest storylines, like the Fatal 4-Way or Ambrose and Rollins or Kevin Owens and AJ Styles, I feel like the groundwork on those stories were laid weeks in advance. So now it's so this week felt like it was more of filling out time and seeing what didn't fit on the card.
Right, this was like a filler match. Like the previous, it's like they all of the booking ended early, and so they just had to, I mean, there were some things that okay. So let's talk about what actually happened a little bit. So, we got the completion of the Dean and Seth story, right? We got that. We'll talk more about that later. We got the Sasha not cashing in, but she punched her ticket to the title match against Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam. By the way, I thought this was really funny that Alexa Bliss came out to watch the Sasha Banks Nia Jax match, and she was in what looked like a big ass lifeguard chair. Did anybody notice that? And I was like, is she gonna dive off and save them? I don't know. What was the point of that big silver lifeguard chair in the middle of the aisle, right in front of the ring?
Oh, fun fact: the last time they had somebody observing a match in a big lifeguard chair was on SmackDown in December 2003.
Oh my God.
It was John Cena and He Who Must Not Be Named in a 4-on-2 handicap match against Brock Lesnar, Big Show, A-Train, and Matt Morgan. Paul Heyman was watching it from the lifeguard chair because if Cena and the other guy lost, they would be fired. So naturally they won, and Cena just took this is Rising Star Thugonomics, Cena, just threw the lifeguard chair and Paul Heyman went into the announce table.
Oh my God.
I'm guessing
crazy.
that didn't happen with Alexa.
Yeah, no, that did not happen with Alexa. Although, if I were in the audience, I'd be like, come on. I'd be out there with my catcher's mitt, come on, baby, come on. By the way, I don't know if you saw, there was a video circulating online at a live event over the weekend. Nia Jax was carrying Alexa Bliss away from the ring, and she had her draped over her shoulder, and the moneymaker was kind of out there in the air, and some kids slapped Alexa right on the butt.
oh man! Does that qualify for great moments in WWE, great moments in wrestling fans, or worse?
Because it was a child, I'll say yes.
All right.
If it had been an adult, I'd say no. But because it was a child, I say yes. Listen, little kids know what they're doing. They get away with some stuff. You ever see a short little kid run up and hug a big-breasted woman, and he buries his face right into her chest? I've seen it all. Listen, I've seen it, and I'm looking at those little kids you know what you're doing, you little shit.
I've been living life as a short person the wrong way all these years. Now I realize that.
Oh man, oh yeah, it happens. Little kids ain't slick, man. I mean, they get away with it. I think if a woman has something like that going on, she has a situation like that going on, she knows that it's, out there and dudes are always looking at it. But I think, if a boy, if a 10-year-old or 12-year-old boy gives her a hug and he's like, oh, head right on the chest, she's not, thinking of it. Obviously, she's not thinking of it in any way sexual, but he is, that little turd. She doesn't even know.
Ooh.
Yeah. He's like, Getting his little red rocket on. Alright. Back to Raw and SmackDown. And so Sasha, by the way, that Sasha Nia Jax match was really good.
Yeah.
Once again, I do not want to hear anything else about Nia Jax not being a good wrestler. Nia Jax doesn't do flips and dives, but she's a good wrestler for who she is, right? Like, for what her style is, she's a bruising, intimidating force, and she throws people around the ring. She uses her weight to her advantage. Like, that's good, and the way that she takes bumps always makes sense. She doesn't like flat back for a punch. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot for these girls to get her down because she's physically so much bigger than them. You know what I mean? And so she works that really well. And her match with Sasha, it was good. It made sense. It took a lot of time and effort for Sasha to, get all the advantages that she had during the match. And so, yeah, man, I think Nia is really good. And even though she didn't win, which is what I wanted, she didn't get the title match versus Alexa, which is what I wanted. They abandoned the storyline of Nia being Alexa's bodyguard just so she could get close to her to get a championship match. Nia still came out of that match looking strong. It was a classic case of good booking.
Yeah, she has come a long way in the ring since she started in NXT, and she's also come a long way since Raw last year. But I think Nia versus Alexa is the most interesting matchup left in the women's division. I thought SummerSlam was the right place to pull the trigger on it, but I guess WWE wants to let that wait for a while.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. I think this is a case of the plans having changed a bunch of times, right? Like, we thought that the Sasha heel turn on Bayley was coming at WrestleMania, right? They didn't do it. Then we thought they would get back to the Sasha Bayley heel turn come SummerSlam. Bayley got hurt, so now they're not doing it. And in the meantime, the Alexa Bliss Nia Jax thing was, I liked the dynamic. And when Alexa was, really presenting herself as kind of a top of the division type of star, it looked like that's the way they were going to go. And so the idea of, Nia finally crushing this little attitude, girl who keeps getting wins over everybody's hero, that was something I was looking forward to. But I don't know, like you said, apparently now they're not going to do it. They got off track and blah, 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 blah. So that's that. Who do you got coming out of the Alexa Bliss Sasha Banks match?
Before I give you that prediction, I'm going to give you a little fun fact. So if Alexa Bliss holds the championship after SummerSlam, she will break Charlotte's record for the longest individual title reign with the Women's Championship.
Wow.
The record is 113 days. Alexa Bliss is sitting at 110 right now.
Ooh.
So I guess the question is she going to break the record? WWE loves playing with records. They love playing with records of people who have left the company on bad terms. That's not the case with Charlotte, of course. I think Sasha wins because I think Sasha Banks wins and sets up Alexa to do something else after SummerSlam.
Interesting.
Because
what else is there for her to do?
I mean, she's decisively beaten Bayley, and if she beats Sasha, then
literally beat her with a stick.
And if she decisively beats Sasha Banks here, there aren't that many other babyface women on Raw for her to feud with.
Yeah, I mean, are there any even?
Does Mickie James count as a babyface? I mean, by default, maybe? I don't know.
A grand babyface. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
Well, there aren't that many people left, so I feel like Sasha Banks has to win it here. Then feud with Alexa, maybe feud with Nia, Emma, Mickie, or something until they figure out something better to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. If I had to call it... All right. I saw a tweet online
Tweet!
I saw a tweet from Rusev that said something along the fact of something along the lines of, Eddie Guerrero would have stayed and shook everybody's hand. I've lost all respect for you. And Sasha is the only person who we know has been so outwardly vocal about looking up to Eddie Guerrero so much. So I'm assuming that was some sort of jab towards her. And I'm coupling that with things that we've heard about Sasha maybe not always being the easiest person to work with. And it makes me wonder if she's kind of on the company's poop list. And I think that there's a great feeling backstage that Sasha and Alexa really don't like each other. And so if you're a petty company, and Lord knows this is a petty company, what better way to stick it to her than have her lose to her rival, her real-life rival, on pay-per-view?
Well, I guess that goes to show maybe the legit boss isn't actually the boss.
That's true. She's definitely not. What else do we get coming out of Raw and SmackDown? Oh my gosh. Well. Sach, hold on. You know what we're about to talk about. Is this in your pleases?
No-ish? No.
All right, so we'll go for it. You sure it's not in your pleases?
We're talking about Shinsuke Nakamura's pants, right?
Maybe. He wears the same pants all the time, though. Those pants look leather.
I know, it looks like the same material that the Universal title is made from.
Maybe this is the leftover material. That's what they did with it. All right, so because I don't want to beat around the bush anymore, let's get into the teeth of what we came here to talk about today. And so, because SmackDown and Raw were kind of a little bit of a dud this week, and everything is all leading up to SummerSlam anyway, and we don't like to do a traditional show, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a SummerSlam theme edition of America's favorite game. Yes, please. No, please. Please, please. Come on with it. Come on with it. Let's go. Okay, Sach. So, leading into SummerSlam this week, this Sunday, on the WWE Network or on any pirating site that you could possibly find, what are you excited about? What has you saying, yes, please?
I am excited, believe it or not, I am excited for Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura. And here I'll tell you why. 3 years ago, I got into following New Japan for the first time. And it was Shinsuke Nakamura that got me into following New Japan. I just loved everything about him. The charisma, the attitude, the pants. And so he was, for 3 years, my favorite guy outside of WWE. Then he comes to NXT, comes to WWE. I'm thrilled. He finally has a title shot for the WWE title at SummerSlam, and I'm rooting hard for the other guy. The sequence of events that have got us here are just wild, because all right, Jinder Mahal is not the best in the ring, but he plays his role perfectly fine. And there's something I notice about the presentation of him, not the storyline, but the presentation, is that now that he's away from Randy Orton, he looks and feels like a champion. Like, it's like he has this body language, this acting, like the championship is the most important thing to him.
Okay.
And that seems perfectly normal for a heel character who spends so much time being away from the title, being at the bottom of the card, losing to El Torito, and now he's got the gold, and now it feels like he is so, like, in his eyes, you can see that he's angry enough to rip someone apart, but also desperate enough to do anything to keep that title. And
like
so,
steroids?
Possibly. And so that's where I feel like Jinder, maybe it was a mistake to give him a title, maybe it was not. I feel like he's finally starting to feel like the champion of the show. The storyline about Jinder is what upsets me, though.
Talk about it!
All right, so WWE has their habit of going into nationalist, xenophobic, evil foreigner, I crush America storylines. And I get it. They've been doing it since the 80s. They've been doing it since longer. But just because fans agreed with it back then doesn't make it any better. And it doesn't make it better to do it today. Especially this week when... So Jinder comes out for Indian Independence Day, which, fun fact, it actually was.
Oh, nice.
I think it was the 70th anniversary of Indian independence. But anyway, he comes out with the singer. They're singing the national anthem, and the audience boos the anthem. Which, I mean, if you follow the NFL, you know how big of a high point the anthem is right now.
Oh, facts! Oh, so, man, that's a great point.
The audience really did not come out looking well. But this entire storyline, I feel like you could easily have done a. You didn't need to fall into this cheap heat, into this cheap "you hate me because I'm brown" heat, when there's something better you could have done. You could have done like an Indian JBL gimmick. You could have done. You could have done any other form of the heel gimmicks they've done in the past, but just with this new, very elitist rich guy who's super huge in there. And they fell into the laziest thing they can think of. And it's really killed any enthusiasm in his story. He's getting real heat. I mean, he's getting heat from the crowd, but it's not the type of heat you want to be egging on your crowd to be doing in 2017.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And to be honest, this is kind of what we've been saying ever since the gender story has come into, prominence, right? Is that, you have a chance to, do something with this guy. And I understand that, like we always say, wrestling is diner food, right? Don't overcomplicate it, right? You know what to do, just do it. But I think you have to have some degree of
awareness,
right? Of the times that we're living in, the stuff that we're seeing in the newspapers. I remember the first day that they did this, gender healing on the crowd, strictly because he's a foreigner type thing, and he started speaking Punjabi, and I was like, all right, you could tell that the crowd is not quite sure they want to dive in with booing this guy off the basis of his nationality. And then as the segment went on, then the crowd started to get into it, and I was like, man, I mean, like, I just really felt like, you really forced this out of these people who were trying not to go there, right? We were trying not to go there. And I gotta agree with you, man. Like, this is the low road. I know it's entertainment, and I know it's not, they haven't used any harsh language, but the messaging is still the same, right? The messaging is that, this guy's bad because he's foreign, right? And it's like, I don't know. And it's not okay just because he's going opposite of Shinsuke Nakamura, who's Japanese, who, a nation that had very real beef with America once upon a time. Wouldn't surprise me, not to get off topic, but I came across some pictures on Facebook of some of the post-bombing scenes in Japan from the 40s. And it wouldn't surprise me if, like, the history of a place gets passed down. You know what I mean? Like, they can't be speaking nicely about Americans. But I won't dive off into that. I'm just saying it's, Yeah. So anyway, so you got Nakamura, who's from Japan, a country that had some very real history in a negative way with the United States, and you got him going against an evil Indian guy? Huh?
Like, this is where they've totally dropped the ball. Because Nakamura could be the living counterexample to say, like, they're not booing you because you're brown. They're booing you because you're a jerk. Or you cheat a lot. Or, like, you throw around your arrogance. And they've barely had any meaningful interaction. Like, Nakamura came out, but let's face it, the opening segment of SmackDown was just a little bit of talking sprinkled between two very elaborate entrances.
Right.
But they've dropped the ball on. They've dropped the ball on this. I'm still excited to see it because I'm a fan of both of these guys. But the storyline could be so much better than what it is.
Yeah.
And it also makes me worry about Nakamura. If Nakamura wins the title, does the story? Do they switch into another ethnic storyline with Nakamura as the main guy and like having heels come up and saying anti-Japanese things about him? This is what I'm afraid of. Or I wonder, does Nakamura perhaps have the clout to be able to reject storylines? He has a different contract from everybody else. We'll get into that on another show. But one of our followers on Twitter, shout out to Cheap Pop Style, asked us this question, and I want to pose it to you and pose it to our listeners out there.
Sure.
Who do you blame more for this? Do you blame WWE for selling this storyline, or do you blame the fans for reacting to it in a gross way?
Well, I say this, the fans pay their money to come out and be entertained, right? And so it's the job of the company putting on the production to do the entertainment. And not only that, but the company putting on the production is targeting a specific type of reaction. So you 100% have to put the blame with WWE. The crowd, listen, at some point, if you pay your money to go out and you bring your kids or you bring your friends or whatever, and you're going out to sit in this arena, you're not going to sit there and wag your finger at the show for, taking an irresponsible angle with a fictional character. You know what I mean?
Kurt Angle's on Raw.
Exactly. You're not going to sit there and wag your finger for doing an illegitimate child storyline. You know what I mean? So the crowd is just, like I said, they paid their money. They came out to be entertained, and so you go along with it, right? So, you have to put the blame on this for this on WWE. You can't. Who else could you blame? You can't blame the audience.
I'm gonna give one last point here. This is the second WWE title match between two superstars of Asian descent. Can you guys name it? Name the first one?
Oh man, that's good.
That is our Talking About Wrestling trivia question, and we'll have the answer for you next week.
Oh, I never knew Kai and Tai was champion. All right, so my yes please this week is for the main event that I predicted, that I asked for, coming out of Great Balls of Fire. I said, look, man.
Great Balls of Fire.
That's right. At Great Balls of Fire, you will rest in peace. So, coming out of Great Balls of Fire, I knew that Samoa Joe had presented himself as a legitimate number one main event top guy. And then WWE found themselves in this place where they had two hot main event style angles that they could possibly do, and rather than trying to squeeze them all onto the card, in which one is inevitable to overshadow the other, they put them all in one match, right? And so we've got this fatal four-way coming up between Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe, and Brock Lesnar, and it's looking good. It's still the most exciting thing for me that is going to happen on this show. I can't think of anything else on this show that I'm more excited about or even equally as excited about.
Well, I am pumped for Violin Guy and Nakamura's entrance.
Oh my God, you and Violin Guy. All right, so look, everybody in this match looks strong. They all look like they could be champion, and there's not one person in this match who I would have a problem with them walking out with the title. Having said that, I think Brock's walking out with the title.
Ooh, you think Brock's gonna go to UFC and defend it against John Jones?
No.
Steel cage match?
I do not think Brock's gonna do that. But what I do think will happen is I think that I just think it was a great setup. I think that the great thing that WWE did was not acknowledging that Brock wants to go back to UFC on TV. By not acknowledging that and by knowing that they're getting you to play right into it. Because the new kayfabe is the dirt sheets. The dirt sheets are the new way to get fans to buy into your storyline, to make them believe it's real. You just leak it out to the dirt sheets, right? And so in a very real event, Jon Jones actually challenged Brock Lesnar, but by not mentioning it on air, it's kind of the elephant in the room that everyone's thinking about. And so people are thinking that they're going to try to find a way to get Brock off TV so he can go do his UFC fight. But I don't think that's going to happen, and so I think Brock actually walks out with the title.
Ooh, all right. Well, this match features like four giant specimens of humanity that have convincingly beat each other up over the past month. Very true.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, right? Like, they've all had their moments where they've like laid waste to the others. I don't think Samoa Joe has ever really like taken it to Braun Strowman. But
they had a couple moments in the brawl, in like a big pull-apart brawl, when Goldust and R-Truth put aside their differences long enough to hold Joe and Strowman apart from each other. They had a couple. All right, there was one memorable moment. Joe had the clutch on Strowman, and then Roman speared them both.
Oh, okay.
They had that triple threat match a few weeks ago on Raw, but Joe and Strowman haven't beat the hell out of each other yet.
Right. So
they've done some stuff.
That's probably the only two out of the four that haven't really had a good quality interaction, where you would say.
Thanks to Braun, I am afraid of office chairs now.
Sorry, you caught me mid-yawn. Sorry. But, yo, that was the greatest. Oh, my God. Yo, listen, I could throw an office chair. I don't know if I can throw it like that. Like, he threw that thing like a football right at Roman's face.
I mean, when I try to throw office chairs at people's faces, I end up in jail. But my goodness, Braun Strowman is so good at giving you these impressive feats of strength that just look so good on camera. The ambulance, the dumpster, the office chair.
He's the mountain among men.
Yeah, we gotta have a TLC. You know how they try to shoehorn in like a chairs match or a stairs match? We gotta do an office chair match.
You put somebody in the middle of the ring, spin him around, and kick him in the face. All right. Okay, Sach. So, enough with the joshing around. We heard what you liked, and we heard what I liked, but we know there's some things going into this Sunday that you are not excited about. So, let's talk about what that is. What have you seen going into SummerSlam that is making you say, no, please?
All right. SummerSlam is a very packed pay-per-view. We've got 13 matches on the card. 13 matches on the card. 3 of them are going on the pre-show. Let's be real. This pay-per-view is going 4 or more hours. Like, this is a very long event. And it's a problem that WWE creates because they have 9 titles plus a handful of remarkable singles feuds. One of them I'm not really feeling right now, and that's Randy Orton versus Rusev. Because I feel like this is the most contrived feud between two guys who had nothing to do. And normally this would make sense if you have a pay-per-view like Night of Champions or Backlash where you need to get more guys involved in the card.
Right.
But at SummerSlam, there's really no use for them here. Like, they're not fighting over anything meaningful. Rusev came back, demanded a title shot, and then lost a flag match to Cena. Ugh. Randy Orton lost 3 times to Jinder and ended up getting an inexplicable win on SmackDown, but Orton has no momentum and isn't really capturing the crowd's attention right now. This match is completely unnecessary, and I feel like it shouldn't even be here. I would rather see something like Tozawa versus Neville make it to the main card rather than this. I'm even less interested in this than I am in Big Show versus Big Cass. And I'm only interested in that match to see Big Cass's entrance when his head stands in the middle and blocks the C. By the way, speaking of the lesser matches on the SummerSlam card, have they been having a shark cage thing going for the past week? Because we had a shark cage in NXT. We stuck Chris Jericho in a shark cage at the Royal Rumble.
I mean, listen, they're just trying to sell toys. They got the shark cage toy, so they're trying to sell it. It makes no sense whatsoever for Enzo to be in the shark cage. No damn sense whatsoever. it's not like he's been interfering in Cass and the Big Show's matches. And you normally put the heel manager in the shark cage. That's who you do that to. You don't do that to the little buddy.
I mean, like, all right, shark cage, shark toy, shark week, whatever. Do you think, here's the real question.
God.
Do you think Big Show could fit in the shark cage?
No.
No. You think it would all come crashing down?
Yeah.
You think it would hurt inside?
Yeah.
I mean, all right, I'm just visualizing this in my head. I hope they give Enzo. All right, I'm not that excited, but I hope they give Enzo a mic up there in the shark cage so he could like say something. But
that would take this segment to the next level. That would be the only thing that could save this segment. No offense to Big Show, because Big Show is a really good wrestler. No offense to Big Cass, but people just aren't excited for this match at all.
The excitement in this match is SAWFT, soft.
Ooh, good call. And yeah, the only thing that can make it a little better might be if you give Enzo a mic during the match.
And you can't teach that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to teach that. That's just no. All right, so my no please this week is that SmackDown and Raw gave away too much. The quote unquote go home shows, right? That's what they call them. To the pay-per-views are supposed to be that last little cliffhanger that makes you say, I have to tune in next week to see what's going to happen. And I did not get that feeling from this show. There's random music just playing in the background. It really took me off guard. Well, apparently there's phones in this room that can be turned on at any time.
The government's watching us.
The phones probably were on, so someone has probably been listening to our show so far. Well, we'll see if anybody wants to chime in. Well, so anyway, on Raw this week, you got the Bray Wyatt Finn Balor lead up, right?
Yeah.
And that whole thing was looking kind of stale. So they have Bray Wyatt beat Finn Balor clean in the middle of the ring, and then after the match, pour a bucket of blood over Finn Balor's head.
I think they call it like a red acidic liquid thing. Maybe it's not PG to say blood.
Oh, that's what they call it?
Maybe it's paint.
Oh, my
Maybe
God.
It's like melted fruit roll-up.
It's some red acidic liquid. Okay.
Oh, it's Shinsuke Nakamura's pants.
Yo, that's the third time Nakamura's pants have popped up in the show.
Yo, that's the third time it's popped up in my wardrobe.
Oh my God. Oh man. Okay. All right. Focus. Right. So they did that angle, which, you know, again, I'm not sure that made the most sense, but that was to set up the fact that Finn Balor needs to summon the demon, right, for SummerSlam to really take on the challenge of Bray Wyatt. And yeah, I mean, it's just, and then they advertised, they put up a graphic that said the demon Finn Balor will be at SummerSlam. And I just feel like you shouldn't be advertising the demon. I feel like you should be looking forward to a Finn Balor match, and then if you see the demon, then it's like, oh, that's extra. Now he's definitely, he's ready for action.
Yeah, I agree. I think the audience is intelligent enough to see the tease and start getting the bug in their head. We could see Demon Balor, and then you have a pause before his regular entrance, and then the red lights come on, and you get you know how the Demon has a different entrance than regular Balor? It's more red.
Yeah.
I think you pause, let the crowd get in their anticipatory sounds, and then you bring up the red lights, and then you bring out Demon Balor, and I think that would be a much bigger moment when commentary hasn't been hamming on it for an episode.
No, I agree. It's like the surprise demon entrance.
Yeah.
You didn't know you were getting a demon entrance, then you just get the demon entrance. And I think that's exactly the way you should do it. Because that would really pop the crowd. If you tell them they're going to see this, then they know what to look for, right? And so I think you take the fun out of it in that way. So, I didn't think you needed to give that away. Then the Shield reunion we kind of got the completion of chapter 1 of that story, right? And I think we all know where this is eventually going, but I don't know. The crowd was going crazy when Dean and Seth did the fist bump, and I I just wasn't feeling it, man. I'm not against the Shield reunion, but I'm not like excited for it. Like I'm not like oh my god, I can't wait to see this.
So you just got to go back. You got to think of the big picture of all of this. Seth Rollins. Let's think of something we can all relate to. Seth Rollins is the ex-girlfriend that leaves you for Triple H. And like,
we can all relate to that.
She tears up your entire life. Your life isn't the same for the next few years after that. You're just angry. You're thinking of nothing but revenge, nothing but anger. And then a few years later, Triple H leaves her for Kevin Owens. And she realizes just how much of a colossal bitch she's been, how many mistakes she's made, and all she wants to do is make it up to you. But for good reason, you don't trust her. You don't trust her. You're afraid you might get put through a table again. And she's doing all these things to make it up to you until finally, like, with common obstacles in front of you, finally you've had your heart-to-heart, you've made up, and you're like, here's a fist.
Yo.
So that's what's going on here with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. The way I see it. Like, Seth has teamed with Roman before, but Roman's only interested in winning. So he'll take whatever help would help him.
Right.
But Ambrose was the one that felt the Shield breakup the hardest.
Right.
And so...
You mean in the form of a steel chair?
Yeah, a lot of steel chairs. And then he was the one that they needed to actually address this thing hanging between them in the background before they could meaningfully come back together. And I think that's what's happened here, and in a way that was true to both of their characters and their relationship.
I mean, you're right? Because the whole build-up to this thing has been kind of a baby take me back story, right? Baby, please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave you. But... I don't know. It just hasn't been. It's been funny because in every one of these scenes, in every one of these segments between these two, they would get this one shot, and I remember this specifically because I did this film project one time where I had this same shot in there. It's the shot where there's two people talking face to face, right? But the camera is, let's say, behind one of them. And then the person who the camera is behind, he turns his back on the other person. So now he's in the foreground of the camera, and the other person's in the background of the camera. And the person in the background of the camera is like, wait. And then the person in the front looks over his shoulder. Right, like, I'm like, that's such like a soap opera shot, right? Like the girl's like, I'm leaving you, and then the guy is like, but baby, no, right? And so if you think back over the past few weeks, how many times have we seen that shot between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose? And so that part of it has been funny to me, but I don't know, I haven't been like, I mean, listen, I'm here for it because I'm a big Seth Rollins fan. And like I said, I think this is all leading to a double cross at the hands of Dean Ambrose, which will be a much-needed boost to Dean Ambrose's character. But I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not like jumping for joy about it.
You know, when you were describing the imagery and the camera shot, I realized that this has been the best booked WWE relationship in years.
Well, hopefully neither of them ends up making out with Dolph Ziggler in the middle of the ring, because that seems to be what Vince McMahon has a fetish for.
I'm not completely sure how to respond to that.
Okay. Another thing that I think they gave away too soon was the Tozawa Neville match. Like, Tozawa finally got the title win. Right, I think about it, you called that so long, you're like, I love this thing. And then it's really taking off, right? It's really catching on. And so Tozawa got the big title win on Monday night, and he's just going to turn around and give it right back to Neville on the pre-show, nonetheless, of SummerSlam.
I feel like they blew the spot early. I feel like they could have had a better match. I feel, alright, the pre-show is the pre-show, but I feel like because it's so long, you could have had a much longer and more meaningful, better match there. The storyline was interesting, though. If you've been following the heel Neville character arc on 205 Live, he doesn't like using the red arrow because he's taken the mindset of screw the fans. They want to see it. I'm not going to show it to them. I'm going to win my way. Mm-hmm. And so he's only used the red arrow once or twice. The first time was when Mustafa Ali was hanging around far too late, and the second time was when he was fighting Austin Aries, and Aries was countering everything, and he was thinking that the only way he could beat Austin Aries was to bring out the red arrow, and you could see the disgust in his face at having to do so.
Right.
So Neville did that, crashed and burned. I feel like Tozawa was the right person to take the belt off of him.
Okay.
But if Tozawa turns around and loses again, like, the story just feels incomplete. I don't want a hot potato the title, but I feel the title change should have happened at SummerSlam, and Tozawa should hold it at least a few months into the fall.
Yeah, it's tough because I felt like they gave him that title just so he can drop back to Neville on Sunday. So we'll see.
Well, the Titus brand worldwide has gold.
Yeah. All right. So that's what I didn't like. I didn't like the fact that on Raw and SmackDown, I feel like they gave away most of the show. Like, you saw it. Like, there's no urgency for me to stay up and watch this show. To be honest with you, I have a big feeling that I'm probably just going to get up and watch the main event as I'm doing my morning workout.
Ooh, so here's a fun fact. Speaking of Dean Ambrose and Akira Tozawa and relationships, there was a match. I believe it was back in Evolve or in Dragon's Gate Evolve. Tozawa and Dean Ambrose, then known as Jon Moxley, were tag team partners.
Okay.
Tozawa was facing Adam Cole in a match, new NXT signing, and Cole pauses at the beginning of the match to lean over the top rope and get a kiss from his valet, Rebby Sky. Tozawa, so the referee goes to Tozawa. He's about to start the match. He's like, nope. Tozawa pauses, leans over to the ring to get a kiss from Ambrose. He's like, they did it. We got to do it. The match can't start any other way.
They kissed?
No. Oh. Ambrose just flipped out with his body language at the side. He's like, just get in there. And Tozawa was pointing at his cheek like, come on, we got to do it. Guys, if you could track down that clip, that was one of the funniest things I've laughed to this week.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man. So, all right, Sach, we heard what you liked. We heard what you didn't like. But what are you really hoping to see at SummerSlam? What has you saying, please, please?
All right, my please, and we touched on this earlier. You made your prediction for the Fatal 4-Way, and I'm going to give you my want here.
Okay.
I want to see Samoa Joe walk out with the title because I think all the ingredients are perfectly mixed correctly. I feel like this Fatal 4-Way burger is well seasoned. I feel like the stars are aligned. Samoa Joe can pick up a submission over either Roman or Strowman and not pin Brock, because I know they're worried about that.
Okay.
So this is a way for Brock to lose the title without being pinned. For Joe, I feel like Joe has the most untapped potential as champion. Seeing him come out with the belt, seeing him run roughshod over everybody else, and Joe feels like the real killer of the roster to run around and tap everyone out until Brock comes back at the Royal Rumble, or until either Roman or Strowman or somebody else takes the title off of him. I want Samoa Joe as champion because I think he's the most interesting option going forward.
I like that, man. I really like that. And I don't dispute you at all. I think Samoa Joe has a realness about him that makes exactly what you said feasible, right? Like, it's feasible that he could choke out anybody, right? It doesn't matter. You could be as big as Braun Strowman. If somebody gets a tight grip around your windpipe, you're going down. And so, Joe, man, he just does a really good job of being a believable heel, a believable fighter. And that's why, as fans, we have no problem seeing this guy as the champion, because he's somebody that we think could probably kick most people's ass.
Joe's gonna kill you.
Yeah. I've been waiting for that chant to come back, but I don't see it coming down.
Oh, do the fans not know how to carry a sing-song chant long for very long, or is the only thing they know this is awesome?
No, but I just think that Joe's Gonna Kill You was from like 07 TNA. It was like from 07, 08 TNA, back when Joe was a monster, and we're 10 years removed from that.
What?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. All right. So, my please this week is surprise me. So, I know I'm looking forward to this Fatal 4-Way main event. I I don't know that I'm looking forward to much else. So I'm hoping to walk away from this event this evening saying, man, I really didn't see that coming, or that was really good. And right now, I can't think of any spots where that would happen. So I'm just saying, surprise me. Give me something that I'm not expecting that I'm going to love.
I'm going to pose a question to you as well as to our listeners.
What you got?
Guys, tweet us at TW Talking About. Tweet us at Sach and Dave C. You talk about surprises. Do we all think that Carmella is going to cash in on the winner of Naomi versus Natalya? Here's my thought. I feel like they've been selling it so hard that I really don't want to see it happen because it's too obvious and I'm expecting. Do you guys feel the same way?
I think that because they've basically promoted her as part of this match, right? Like every time you see Naomi, you see her. They've basically promoted her as part of this match. So I think it'll be something where Carmella comes out and she threatens to cash in, and the cash in leads to some sort of distraction, and then through that distraction, Naomi retains the title from who's this person?
Natalya.
God, why couldn't I think of her name? Natalya. Naomi
The feud
retains.
hasn't been that great.
That's true. So I think Naomi retains, and I think that Carmella attempts to cash in, but I think we get no cash in. I don't know exactly what is going to be the point where she cashes in, but I don't think this is going to be it.
I think, and there's no rule against it. Here's what I think is going to happen. Nakamura beats Jinder Mahal. And since Ellsworth was the one that pulled down the briefcase, he cashes in the women's title briefcase on Shinsuke Nakamura.
No,
because
what?
The person who claims the briefcase owns it. I'm doing air quotes in the studio.
Yeah.
So it's Ellsworth's briefcase. There's no rule that it can't be cashed in on the WWE title. Shinsuke, watch your back.
If that happens, you would see trash thrown in the ring for the first time since Hulk Hogan joined the NWO.
Someone had to clean that up.
Somebody's going to have to clean up this Sunday if Ellsworth ass somehow ends up with a damn briefcase.
People are going to be throwing office chairs, shark cages.
They might rip out the concessions and throw them down in the ring.
Oh, well, hey, guys, if you're going out to Barclays Center, I've been there a few times before. I was actually there for the first NXT event there. If you guys are going down to Barclays Center, get the cheesecake. It's really good. But also, tweet us your picks from your seat. Tweet us at Sach and Dave C, at TW Talking About. We want to see the view from your seat. Give us your thoughts on the event for those going live.
Yeah, so that's where we are with SummerSlam. Is there anything else that's kind of stewing on your mind this week in the world of wrestling?
Yeah, so for this week's New Japan Minute, I want to talk about the finale of the G1 tournament. It was Tetsuya Naito beating Kenny Omega in the final, and I feel like this was the right choice. I feel like it's Tetsuya Naito's year to win the G1 and to go on to challenge presumably Okada at Wrestle Kingdom.
Okada has the title for a while, right?
I think we passed the 1-year anniversary last month.
Holy crap.
I can't see him losing it before Wrestle Kingdom because here's another fun fact about title reigns. If he holds it until Wrestle Kingdom, he'll have the most days as IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
Wow.
And he's only 31.
That's pretty cool.
So here's what this was a fantastic G1. It's had star-making performances for numerous guys. Everything is evil. And it sets up a lot of interesting things going forward. Now, for those who haven't really followed before this year, I'm going to let you in on 2 rules. You win a title shot. If you win the tournament, you get the title shot at Wrestle Kingdom, but you have to defend. So for those of you who haven't followed New Japan before this year, I'm going to let you in on a couple of things. So if you win the tournament, you get a title shot at Wrestle Kingdom, but you have to defend it as if it were a regular title.
Oh, wow. So you have to defend the title shot once you won it?
Defend the title shot.
Wow.
And it looks like we're getting Tetsuya Naito versus the Stone Pitbull, Tomohiro Ishii at King of Pro Wrestling in October. But also, if a champion loses in the tournament, he owes a title shot to whoever beat him. Wow. So Okada owes a title shot to Evil, and Kenny Omega owes a title shot to either Michael Elgin or Juice Robinson. So I feel like we're set up for an interesting summer. I still feel we're getting that Bullet Club split, but I don't know when because After the final night went on the air, we got a mini reunion between the Golden Lovers of Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, and that's where I think we're headed towards Wrestle Kingdom with them. So, fantastic G1. We'll check back in next month as we see what's going on over there.
I think that's actually a really clever way to set up booking with all those rules that you talked about. I think those make a lot of sense. Those are great stipulations because they make so many things matter. How many competitors are in the G1?
There are 20, but they're split in 2 blocks, so you face each of the other 9 people in your block.
Wow.
This has actually gotten a lot of criticism now that more people are following because it's so tremendous. Well, Japanese strong style, as well as the one match every 2 days, is a very grueling toll on the body. Tanahashi wrestled the entire tournament with a torn bicep. Tetsuya Naito has a neck injury. Kenny Omega has a knee injury. Okada has a back injury, and nobody can really stop until you're in a stretcher. So These guys are really beaten up.
That's crazy. And is there like a point system?
Oh yeah, if you win your match, you get 2 points. If you tie, you get 1 point, which there's a 30-minute time limit, so ties tend to happen.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. TNA did something called the Bound for Glory series a few years ago, and it was similar to that. It was like it wasn't a tournament. It was just kind of like they picked like 10 guys, and they would all kind of have matches against one another, and there was like a point system. It was like if you won, you got like a certain amount of points. If you got a submission, you got a certain amount of points. If you got disqualified, like you lost points, or if you tapped out, you lost points. It was a whole deal, and the person with the most points at the end ended up getting a title shot at Bound for Glory. And I thought it was actually a pretty clever way because they were like having these matches out on live events, so it was getting people to like come out and like pay attention to the standings. I thought that was actually pretty cool
and a great way of organizing some of the mid-carders when they wouldn't necessarily have feuds going on, but they're all fighting for something that you've clearly defined.
Yeah, and so I think it's a pretty cool idea. That's awesome. All right, Sach, tell the people where they can find you on social.
You can find me at Sach and Dave C. And if you're headed out for SummerSlam weekend, we'd love to get your thoughts.
Hell yeah. Also, tweet us any pictures from your seats, like Sach said, or any cool like videos of things that are happening behind the scenes. We're definitely going to be tweeting along all the fun stuff that we're thinking as the show's going on, because I'm sure there's going to be like, some stuff that we find too funny and we just have to make fun of as the show's going on. So, yeah. All right, folks. See you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, EC3.
GFW Impact this week. This was a huge week for GFW. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I didn't even really see this coming. I mean, we knew that this was Destination X week, and we knew that they planned to do one of their, quote unquote live shows. And I say just quote unquote because it's live to tape. I think they actually taped the show from about 7 p.m. to about 9 p.m. East Coast time. And it actually airs on TV from about 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. East Coast time. So in the TV business, that's technically called live to tape. But you still get the feel of a live show. And because it's happening so close to the actual time that it airs, it's, you got to really be searching for spoilers in order to find them. And there's a lot of trolls out there who are searching for spoilers. I actually saw some posted like right before the show came on. And I was just like, really? You haters just gotta, try to spoil the show for people to actually want to watch it. But I digress. This was a really big week for GFW. This show was very noteworthy. It was a good show, easy to watch. The show floated by, and that's saying something considering the fact that they actually removed a match, right? We were supposed to get Alberto El Patron taking on Low Key in the main event of Impact, but as we all know, with El Patron being suspended, and the announcement came down at the top of the week that he had actually been stripped of the GFW Global Championship. And so, part of me was, very curious as to how they were going to play that out. He put out a statement saying that it was his idea to have them strip him of the title and blah, 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 blah. But they definitely went out of their way to not paint him in a bad light. But this was, make no mistake, this was 100% the right move. This is exactly what they should have done with him. He was playing the superhero babyface on TV, and week after week I was watching this, and I honestly just could not separate the person I was seeing on TV from the person that I was seeing in those videos that were popping up online and in the different headlines that were popping up. Him just, rambling off like a drunk madman, and it just really was not a good look. This company is in a space where they need all the positive PR they can get, and like it or not, he was just creating a lot of negative headlines for this company, and they really don't need that. He's a really good wrestler in the ring. He's great on the mic, but it's at this stage of the game, it's more trouble than it's worth because they're just trying to, create some goodwill towards their brand. And like I said, having El Patron as the face of your company was counterproductive to that. So stripping him of the title was the right move. Whether you did it in this fashion or whether you had him actually drop the title to low key. Actually, when I first heard about Patron being stripped of the title, my thought was that he was supposed to drop the title to low key, and he refused to do it, and then they decided to strip him of the title. But as we saw the show play out, they obviously had a plan in place, and I got to tell you, I like the plan. I really like the plan. If you're listening to this, you're probably a fan of wrestling on the internet, and if you're listening to this, you might also be an Impact Wrestling fan, and so you've probably seen the major spoiler that they released on their own social media, and I'm actually going to talk about that. So if you haven't seen it yet and you don't like spoilers, go ahead and skip ahead about a minute or two. I'll give you a second. All right, so Impact Wrestling released on their own social media that coming out of the 20-man gauntlet for the gold match, the new champion is going to be none other than Eli Drake. I did the hand. You can't anyway. So I love this move. I absolutely love this move. And contrary to a lot of people's belief, I'm more likely to tune in next week than I would have been otherwise. Now, let's be honest, that may not be true because I watch the show every week for the purpose of doing this podcast, if nothing else. But hearing that Eli Drake is going to be winning the championship, I absolutely 100% want to see that. I want to see how it plays out. And then the way they set it up throughout this show, I thought that was great. I mean, so I definitely want to see how this actually plays out and how he comes out with the title. So congrats to my man Eli Drake. I'm saying my man, I don't really know the homie, but if you follow his Instagram, he looks like he has a lot of fun. So he could be my friend. Eli, call me up, man. Let's party. All right, so that's obviously the one of the biggest headlines coming out. There were some other headlines coming out of the week. Tyrus put out an Instagram video saying that he was unhappy with how he's being used and he's worked so hard to become a crossover star and him and his fans aren't happy with the way he's being used. And so he said he was, going to be sitting out these tapings. And I was like, so? Come on, man. Who is going to miss Tyrus from the tapings? And that's no disrespect to him as a performer or what he can do, but what has he been doing, right? He's right in his gripe that he hasn't been being used. You're right, you haven't been being used. So guess what? Nobody's going to miss you. You're not really in a position to be holding out when you're not getting playing time anyway, right? That doesn't make any sense. So you got your release. I saw that on Twitter earlier tonight, and good for you. Best of luck in your future endeavors. Go back to WWE. Hopefully they want to bring back the Funkasaurus, and I'm sure you'll make a lot of money. So, all's well that ends well, I guess. Other noteworthy things from GFW/Impact this week. Oh my God. So, okay. Heel authority figures are so played out. I get it. Austin versus McMahon, like 20 years ago, was a huge hit. You know, they sold out arenas everywhere. Austin was the highest grossing merchandise and ticket sales wrestler in the history of the business. But since then, every damn wrestling show has tried to duplicate the heel authority figure model. And it's just not necessary. Like, you can do something else. And so the latest version of this that we've seen on Impact was Bruce Pritchard with his heel goatee, doing all the repeated stupid stuff that he had been doing. And we saw that come to a head tonight. Apparently he's being replaced by Jim Cornette as the new authority figure. And I just hope Jim Cornette is not a quote unquote heel authority figure. He has a great ability to, deliver on the mic, right? He can really rile people up. He can, he's got sharp cutting words and he's very clever when he talks. So he doesn't need to be a heel. Just let him be a nice, entertaining, use him sparingly style general manager type of guy. And I think that'll add to the program. But let's just get away from the heel authority figure, man. You can do a wrestling show without it. Believe it or not, you can do a wrestling show without a heel authority figure. It's possible. Trust me. I've seen it done. All right. But Bruce Pritchard getting replaced by Jim Cornette, I was a big fan of that. Jim Cornette is way better than Bruce Pritchard on the microphone. He's funny. He has a lot of name value. Obviously, I would say he has more name value than Bruce Pritchard, and it's an upgrade in every possible way. Let's be honest. But on Bruce Pritchard's way out the door, he got into a screaming match with Karen Jarrett, and her screaming voice. Oh my God. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Like, it's awful. It's hideous. It's horrible. And it was funny, as he was getting into the shouting match with Karen Jarrett, and she's, screaming at the top of her lungs in her shrill, shrieking voice, all I could picture was her doing that to Braun Strowman in the bar and him down on his knees begging her not to tell Kurt Angle that he said F your son. So that's actually a funny contribution that Karen Jarrett made to my life. So thanks, Care. What else notable happened on this show? There's a lot. Returns were huge on the show. That we saw the return of Terrence Harrell looking like a snack. And we also got the return of Petey Williams, the Canadian Destroyer. And we got a heel turn for Caleb Conley, who's just kind of been like a nondescript X Division guy. And what else did we get? Oh, towards the end of the show, actually at the exact end of the show, we got a promo for Johnny Impact. Okay, Johnny Impact, that's Johnny Mundo / John Morrison, the Friday Night Delight, as he used to be called on whatever show he was on. And I think this is a big deal. I definitely think this is a big deal because he's been away from WWE long enough that he has kind of... he's still doing pretty much the same thing he was doing in WWE as John Morrison, but I think he's been out of WWE long enough to where people aren't going to necessarily automatically recall back to him being in WWE. It's not about forgetting that he was in WWE, but he's been doing AAA, which a lot of the American audience hasn't seen. He's been doing Lucha Underground, which a lot of the American audience has seen. And he didn't have any really major, success in WWE where it's like, okay, this guy's an ex-WWE champion. He also didn't have any major washouts or failures in WWE. So, I think this is a guy that you can come in, and you can use in all the right ways. But I would just caution you, Jeff, Dutch, Bruce, whoever else, Jim, anybody else that is in charge over there, do not take Johnny Impact and push him straight to the main event. Do not have him come in there and start beating all your top guys, okay? Because you have to stop making the fans think that anybody who comes over from WWE is better than anybody who has been in GFW. You have to erase that out of fans' minds. As a matter of fact, you have to show them the opposite. You have to. It's important. So I'm very interested to see where all those new returns, like how they fit in. These are all good, good additions to the show, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where they go with that. What else newsworthy came out of GFW this week? Let's see. I think that might be it. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get into my favorite game, your favorite game, the GFW version of Yes Please, No Please, Please Please. All right, here we go. So my Yes Please this week is for the online digital content. GFW has done such a tremendous job with focusing on putting major parts of major angles online. That means you can consume these things via Twitter, via Facebook, via YouTube. These are all different ways you can see this stuff. Now, the two major things that fall into this category right now are, one, obviously the spoiler of Eli Drake winning the world title on next week's show, which, by the way, was just them getting out in front of the news cycles. You knew the dirt sheets were going to spoil that no matter what. And so it's very smart of them to be the ones to go ahead and put that news out, because you want your fans to look to you first for the news. So the fact that they got out in front of the news cycle in that way, I think that's just very smart on their part. So, kudos to you guys for that. The other thing is, after Slammiversary, they started this angle where the people from American Top Team, where Lashley trains, were pressuring him to focus solely on MMA and step away from wrestling. And at that point, I had a feeling automatically that this was going to be exactly what it is, which was, Lashley starting to lose matches so that the MMA guys could put more pressure on him to leave. But they took this to a whole nother level with the online content. So if you guys haven't seen on the YouTube channel or maybe on Facebook, there's a video of what transpires after they go off camera, and the MMA guys get into a scuffle backstage with Jeff Jarrett. James Storm ends up running out, and it's just this whole kind of pushing match to look like it was, getting pretty heated. And so it looks like where this is going to go is there's going to be like an MMA crew versus wrestlers type crew. And I love the idea. I think it's a really great, fun idea. Somebody's going to have to train up all these MMA guys on how to do wrestling moves. So that's going to be interesting. But I love the concept, man. I love the concept. And again, I love using your digital platform to further advance the storyline in a significant way. So GFW's digital content, you get my yes, please. All right. There was not a whole lot to not like on this week's episode of Impact. I already touched on the Tyrus situation, and that could have been my no please, but it really wasn't that significant to even get my no please. My no please this week is going to the debut of OVE. Now, there's so much I can pick apart here, and I will. So let's start with the constant regurgitation of the Ohio versus everything. Okay, here's the problem with that. There's no problem with the name itself, but the fact that you keep saying Ohio versus everything takes away from it. If you just say OVE, that leaves people to wonder, what does OVE stand for? I need to find out more about OVE. It's like CM Punk, right? Like, you just leave the mystery of what does CM stand for. And they might say 20 different things, but you still want to know. We want to know more. What does CM Punk stand for? So you guys keep saying Ohio over everything. Nobody really cares about Ohio over everything. Like, it's not like offensive. It's not like we're in Michigan where, how dare you say Ohio over everything? Like, it's not like, really, who cares? And then the match itself was kind of sloppy. They presented these guys like they're supposed to be like some big deal, and the match itself definitely was sloppy. There was one part where they took on two jobbers whose names I can't remember. There was one part where one of the guys goes behind a member of OVE and he cradles him up into a schoolboy, and I think he tries to pull him out into a German suplex, and you can audibly hear the guy from OVE saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" That's correct. He said that. Those words in that order. And it was audible, by the way. Somebody should have edited that out. I guess that's the problem with going live, air quotes. And, their finishing move didn't look too impressive. The guys themselves, nothing about them is like feature attraction. Now, I remember when the Wolves debuted and they felt like a big deal as a tag team. They felt like, a tag team that's doing something new that you really need to see. And I didn't get this feeling from OVE at all. So hopefully they'll do better in their future segments. But, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't really, I wasn't really feeling the love, man. The OVE, yeah, right now I'm just not here for it. So hopefully that gets better. All right. Now, I told you guys what I liked. That was my yes, please. I told you guys what I didn't like. That was my no, please. But like all people that love a TV show, you watch this TV show and you're trying to figure out what the end game is, and you have your own ideas for how you think it should turn out. And the whole time you're watching the show, you're saying, please, please do it my way. And so what has me saying please, please this week is please continue to give me good matches from the X Division. Okay? Please give me good matches from the X Division. They had the final of the Super X Cup match, and they really slowed it down. I appreciate the big moves that X Division guys do so much more when they're actually in what looks like a real match, a real struggle, a real fight. Guys, trying to work a hold, get a submission, and then you do the crazy flippy thing, and it looks really cool, right? But if it's just like flip after no sell, and that really just takes me out of it. But it looks like they took special care to not be that way in this match. And so Desmond Xavier got the win. He looks like somebody that they're going to try to push. I'm a little confused, though, how this is going to balance out with Matt Seidel's automatic title shot that he has coming up. So maybe that'll be something they'll get into on a future episode. If I have a backup, please, my second please is going to be please make next week's episode a good one. There's a lot of positive buzz coming off of this, and I can guarantee you that they will do a higher viewership number next week than they did on this week. So please deliver on next week's show. Make sure that Gauntlet for Gold match is great. Make sure everything before and after that is noteworthy, newsworthy, pick up your phone and call a friend worthy. That's what we need to see, because that's how you're going to grow this audience. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they do that. And please give us a good show to talk about next week. So all my GFW Impact fans, thank you guys so much for taking the time out to listen to this. Make sure, you're liking the YouTube page. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe. Same thing with iTunes. I definitely could use all the love on that. So thanks. Woo! Did we come back with a vengeance or what? That was a good show. Oh, speaking of woo, let me give my heartfelt shout outs to the family of, Nature Boy Ric Flair, to all the fans of the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Definitely just make sure you keep sending the love to the family. Keep this guy in your prayers. I'm really cautious about, speaking out on behalf of people that I don't know personally, because you don't know people's character. And, you can go out on a limb and say, oh, this person's so great. And then it may come out that they had some awful secrets in their past that you would not want to be associated with. So I'm not going to, go out and just talk about what a great person anybody was. But I will say this, by anybody's standard, Ric Flair is an icon of professional wrestling. When I was a kid growing up in rural North Carolina, Ric Flair could have come over and eaten at the dinner table at my grandmother's house any night of the week. He was that big of a deal, and most people will tell you that. We live in an age right now where so many fans have this insane, ridiculous brand loyalty to WWE and nothing else. But Ric Flair made his bones. He made his greatness in the NWA. And that should never be forgotten. That should never be forgotten at a time when wrestling was a much different business, where guys made much less money than they make now, and when it was much harder to draw houses and to, really truly carry a business on your back. He did that, and he did that in a whole section of the country that he'll never be forgotten for. That's why when you hear guys like Shawn Michaels and Triple H talk about who the greatest wrestlers of all time are, talk about who their favorite wrestlers of all time are, Ric Flair is always at or near the top of that list, because what he did was absolutely iconic, and he didn't need the WWE to do it. And I think that's worth saying something, because, right now, Cody Rhodes is out making it on his own, and I think he's very much inspired by the legacy of, his father, and also, people like Ric Flair, who became legends in the wrestling business and did not have to do it off of the promotion of Vince McMahon. And, Vince McMahon is obviously, probably the greatest thing to happen to the wrestling business ever, because who knows how it would look and what it would be today had it not been for Vince McMahon and his, expansion plans and all the people he put out of business. So, this is definitely not a knock on Vince McMahon, but, there is, and always will be wrestling outside of WWE. And, Ric Flair was a bastion of light of that. Dusty Rhodes was a bastion of light of that. Cody Rhodes right now is being a bastion of light of that. Although he may and probably will at some point end up back in WWE. It's just, it's good to see people making it without the quote unquote machine. So that's just, a little piece that I kind of had to say about Ric Flair. Rick, if you're hearing this, please get well. Everybody loves you. And, yeah, man, we got many more woos to go. All right, everybody, that's our show for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you're hearing, please tell a friend to tell a friend. Subscribe to me on iTunes. Give me a 5-star rating and leave a comment. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
I don't fall in love, though. Every night gonna be a fun night. You don't have to love me. You just gotta act right. Yeah. If you do, I make the room light up. By the moon for us. Everybody got a price. New Gucci bag and you never flying coach. You be the starting 5 on a brand new coach. Yeah. And you control your own shit.